Since I'll be leaving in a couple weeks, obviously I wanted to see my family at least one last time before I left. So that's what I did this weekend. My father came to pick me up on Friday. We spent the weekend with my sister, and then Sunday evening he came to bring me back. And it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was picturing kind of more, because every time I go there, it's like, my dad's there, my sister and her family. Sometimes my uncle comes over. In the past, my mother would always come over, but since, I ended our relationship over a year ago at this point, she's been kind of avoiding me for a while. It's only recently that she's been kind of, more open regarding that. So, yeah, let me kind of walk you through the whole weekend. So Friday morning, my dad comes to get me. We take a couple plants that I have because obviously when I leave, there's no point in having plants anymore. It's like if I can find someone to sublease the apartment, I can sell them the the furniture. If not, I guess I'll just leave it here. I really don't know at this point. But the thing is, like plants, if I can't find someone to take over the apartment before I leave, and obviously my landlord is not going to come here and water the plants every week or so. So I'm like, you know what? It makes more sense to give them to my sister and to my father. Both of them love plants. So it just seemed like the appropriate approach to take. So anyway, my dad shows up on Friday morning, pack up the plants, head out, and then we stop at a town near my sister's place because she lives, more in the country, in the woods and stuff like that. So we stopped there for lunch. Well, late lunch, but anyway. And, it was one of the typical like breakfast place with eggs and potatoes and stuff like that. It was pretty good. So anyway, eventually we make it to my sister's in the afternoon. Drop off the plants. Well, not drop off, but like take out of the car so they don't freeze. And then, we spend the next couple days hanging out with them. So given my uncle and my mother's schedule, the only time they were available to come over is on Saturday evening. So what we did, we planned a meal, like a dinner for all. I was gonna say four, but way more than four. Hold on, 6 adults and 2 kids. Well, 6 adults, 2 kids, one dog, and 2 cats, to be exact. And then also my mother mentioned that she wanted us to have a private conversation, so had no clue what that was about. So like, you know what? I already said what I need to say. I feel like we left things off in a good place last time. So I guess let's see what she has to say. So anyway, Saturday morning, I wake up. I'm like completely exhausted just because of the trip from the night before, the day before. Sorry. I get very tired very quickly, so my energy runs out. So anyway, get up, eat breakfast. Eventually, like a couple hours later, eat lunch, and then a few hours before my mother and my uncle arrive, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel really exhausted. Let me take like an hour or two to just go lie down, go rest. Hopefully, I can recover partly because if the dinner starts, even if it starts early at like 5, all the talking and everything after is like it's gonna take multiple hours, and it's like, going to bed at 9 normally would be fine. 10, 11, no big deal, but it's like, given my current amount of strength and how quickly it runs out, going to bed even at like 9 was like, oh my god, I really hope not. I hope I can survive that. And because of that exhaustion, what I kind of had planned, I didn't really have a specific plan, but I kind of wanted it was nice the idea of all being together and just kind of like thanking everyone for being in my life and everything they've done for me, and I love them very much and everything. But by the time my mother showed up and my uncle, and then we kind of like got into dinner and conversation and everything, it's just like I was way too exhausted. So it's like I ended up just like sitting there talking a bit, and that was pretty much it. So it's not what I was expecting, but it was nice to just hang out with my family with no pressure, no expectations. Basically, just like, hey, this is our one last time to hang out together. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but there's a chance I'm going on a one-way trip. I don't want to leave without saying goodbye one last time and spending time with you one last time. So that's kind of how it turned out, just like hanging out with family as opposed to like saying final farewells. Because I've already said that in the past, like kind of I could sense I guess this was coming and I was prepared, and I'm like, this feels like the right time to say it, and I'm glad I did because this time I was able to just relax and enjoy the company of my family. So it was nice. Plus, my sister's cooking is really good. And I noticed that the fact that I don't have to cook makes it easier for me to eat more for some reason. So I took full advantage of that while I was at my sister's. The only issue is I'm like, oh, I'm leaving for a couple of days. Let's just leave the laxative at home, and then I'll start taking it when I get back. But yeah, at some point it kicked in, and I went like almost an entire day without pooping, and I'm like, yep, that was probably a mistake. Now I'm back. I started taking it again. Things are going back to normal, but yeah, that was definitely not a wise decision. So anyway, the evening with my family, with my uncle, my brother, my uncle, my mother, my father, my sister, my brother-in-law, my niece and nephew, and obviously the pets. That went really well. That was fun. Like even though I was exhausted because it was, you know, late. I say late because it's like I am exhausted at like 3 p.m. now. So in comparison, like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or whatever, it's like, yeah, okay, this is late. But it was a very fun experience. I'm glad that I got a chance to do it. The next morning, since my mother and I wanted to speak, well, my mother wanted us to speak alone. So I went to her place and we had a conversation. And it seemed like, there's two reasons. Well, there was one reason why she wanted us to see each other, and another one that I don't think she was aware of necessarily. And the second one is because I feel like she needed to talk, and I didn't really have that much to say, so I just plus I was kind of like entering that period of the day where it's like I'm kind of like zoned out, like half there, half not there. So it's like I did mostly listening and not that much talking. But the main reason why she called me there is because she wanted to give me some. Before I get into that, let me just kind of briefly explain something about my mother. As I mentioned in previous videos, she's a conspiracy theorist. She doesn't like that term. I just don't know how else to describe it. And she believes the government controls us and economical system is going to crash eventually and everything, and you got to stock up reserves and get ready and whatever. And part of that is her buying silver coins or gold coins or stuff like that, just in case the monetary system just crashes, then she'll have some sort of currency. So not necessarily a bad thing. It's just I wanted to explain the situation before I explained why it is she wanted to see me. And the reason was she wanted to give me two gold. Well, they're technically bars, but it's they're the size of a silver coin. But obviously worth a lot more because it's gold. So I don't know the exact value. It fluctuates. It varies from country to country and the market and everything. So it's impossible to know exactly how much it's worth. But it's probably something around the $8,000 mark. So I was really, really surprised by that. And what I really appreciated, aside from the generosity and the help and everything, was the fact that my grandmother passed away in 2017, and she left some money for my mother, and she used part of that money to buy those gold bars. So it's by giving some to me, it's also a gift from my grandmother, which I haven't seen in almost eight. Well, I don't remember the exact date she died, but it's 7 or 8 years, right around that range. So it was nice to kind of be able to get a gift from her from beyond the grave, which was nice. So it was good for me, for my ego, to accept help from my mother. That was not easy, and it was nice to be able to get help from my grandmother, even though she's not around anymore. So it was a very fun experience. To just be able to see my family one last time and get to spend time with them with no pressure, no expectations, no nothing. And Also, not to leave anyone out, you know, my father gives me like $1,000 every year for my birthday and for Christmas. And since my birthday is coming up in less than a month almost, well, right about a month, he gave me the money that he usually gives me for my birthday early. That way I can use it, you know, for the trip and expenses and everything else. So I'm also very grateful for him on that front, of course. And just the fact that, you know, he drove here and, you know, drove the entire way because he lives like an hour and a half, 2 hours depending on the traffic on one side of Montreal. My sister lives like the same distance on the other side. So it's like when he comes to pick me up and we go visit her, he's driving for a good 3 hours, sometimes more. And the thing is, like, even though technically, legally, I'm allowed to drive now because it's been over 6 months since I had my last seizure, I just feel like in the state that I'm in, it would not be safe for me to drive. I don't want to take any chances, which turned out to be a good thing because on the way home, just when we got on the bridge before entering Montreal, I got that oh so familiar feeling of I'm going to throw up. Unfortunately, since I haven't drawn up for like almost a week and before that point, I didn't even think of bringing like throw up bags. And then we enter the bridge and it's like crap, that feeling's coming up. There's nowhere for us to stop. I don't have any bags. My dad doesn't have any bags, but this feeling is coming. I need to, figure out a solution. So I ended up like throwing out the window and it was windy and raining and really cold. And now that I'm bald, obviously it was colder. And, threw up all the side of my dad's car. It felt bad. It sucks, but it is what it is. It was my mistake for not bringing a bag, but, you know, all part of the process. So anyway, I'm very grateful for him for everything that he's done for me, everything that he does for me. I'm incredibly grateful. He also took the other two plants because I had four plants. I had the bird of paradise, I had the aloe vera, I had the love cactus, and then I had a ficus tree. So my sister took two, my dad took two. In fact, I asked my dad specifically because he has like a very big house with a lot of light, and obviously that's good for cacti. So I'm like, hey, I kind of explained like what the love cactus is, and it represents the love my wife and I have for each other. And as the cactus grows, it signifies or symbolizes that my love for my wife and I, like for each other, is growing. And I'm just like, I don't feel right just abandoning it. And I could have had my asked my sister, but it's like she already has so many plants. She's a what's the term in English? Nagashi. Damn it. I remember in French, I just forget in English. Anyway, someone who grows vegetables and flowers and sells it at like farmers markets and stuff like that. So she has to do that plus all the interior plants and everything. And I'm just like I don't want to burden her even more. So let me just give it to my dad. I know he's very good with plants. I know he can take good care of it. And there'll be a lot of lighting and everything. And he's like, you know, it'll be nice because then every time I water it, I'll be thinking of you. So it's kind of like a farewell gift at the same time as, please keep our love alive kind of thing. No pressure. No, but it's all good. So overall, very good weekend. Yes, exhausting, but that's pretty much what I was expecting. That's why we only went for like, we traveled there one day and then stayed there a full day and then traveled back the final day. And it's like I could have stayed longer. It's just like I'm like, I I don't have the energy for that. I just know it. And sure enough, I'm glad that we did that because I already feel burned out. So, and I seem to be coughing more. No, I don't know why. So anyway, overall, everything went really well. It was nice to be able to see my family and spend time with them one last time with, no pressure and everything. I'm grateful for everyone. Oh yeah, also, sorry. I started it before and I kind of got sidetracked. Also, my uncle gave me $200. So I was, once again, also very grateful for him. And also the kind words he told to me before he left. And, very supportive, very encouraging. Like, I'm proud of you. I think you were doing the right decision. I really hope the best for you and your wife. And, he's always been like my favorite uncle. I've always felt like very close to him. So it was nice to be able to spend time with him one last time and everyone else as well. So that's pretty much been the update for my weekend. Thank you for watching. If you want to support me, you know how to do so. Thank you so much for being a part of my YouTube family. I appreciate and I love you all very much. And now the moment of truth. We'll let me step back.